So anyway, and he's a good Christian, solid, conservative person. So welcome, Fred Thompson.
Thank you. Good morning. What a pleasure to be here. Again, I'm when you say running, I'm running for my life. I think I'm actually having a lot of fun doing this. Yesterday I was in Clackamas, and then I was in Lyons, and then last night I finished up in Silverton. And so it's just run now. And anybody running for office knows what that's like. But I've certainly been meeting a lot of people, talking to a lot of people, and I've been learning a lot. Not that I didn't know it before, but it's been, confirmed to me exactly the sad state of affairs that we have today, and not only in Oregon but in the United States. And running for Congress, it's gives you an opportunity to look at the bigger picture, but also, what is the impact having on your state and of course the 5th Congressional District. I'd like to start off a little bit this morning. I just want to reiterate, my flyer here. On the front is a bunch of stuff that I want to do. You'll see that I got endorsed by the Oregonian, the Statesman, and the Willamette Week during the primary. I was surprised but pleased with that, but I told them the same thing I'm telling you. So my story never changes, and it hasn't changed for over a couple of years. On the back is a bunch of stuff that I've already done, and every word here I wrote, and every word here has something that I've done. Not everything that I've done, because really only my wife and a few people know what I have done in my career, which is a lot. I've traveled all over the United States, worked in many states, worked with a lot of government people, both federal representatives, state representatives, United States senators. I worked with the Premier of Manitoba, which is the Governor of Manitoba, worked with him and his government agency. And then I worked in Mexico, and I had a green card in Mexico and one in Canada, and then I lived in Europe. So, and I did all of that by commuting from Salem to Portland to airplanes headed where. So I did that every week. I'd leave on Monday and come back Thursday. And I had a young family, so I hated to be away, but that's what I chose to do in order to provide a living for them. So I met a lot of people in my career, and I've been able to accomplish a lot of things in my career. One of the things you'll see in here, agriculture and waste. Well, that was in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I took wheat straw, spent $150 million and built a world-class manufacturing facility that took wheat straw and made a composite for the particle board industry, or it was a particle board for the furniture industry, sold at Lowe's and Home Depot and all over. 400,000 bales. Each bale weighs about 1,300 pounds. The issue there was logistics, because wheat straw comes right at exactly the same minute, and you've got to capture all of that. And we had like 44 tractors with balers, high speed, and we had to capture all that material, put it in the corner so the farmer could get back onto his field. So that was a big challenge to make that happen. People said it couldn't be done, but we did it. And that's been the history of my life. Things that the people said that can't be done, I would do. And a lot of people, when people say, well, this is the way we've always done it, then that just really inspires me and challenges me, and I want to go ahead and prove that it can be done differently. And I've done that. I've done that with presidents and chairmen of the boards. I was turned down 6 times by the chairman of the board of Louisiana Pacific, said I couldn't buy 2 facilities. It took me 2 years, and I bought it. Today, 235 union workers have their job, and another 70 non-union workers have their job, and they've been going and bought that in 2004. Now they've been consolidated with a large corporation, and they continue to have benefits, and the facility continues to run, even though it was announced to be shut down. Had a lot of environmental problems, was able to solve those. So when I say that I'm going to go do something, I do it. You can ask my wife, because I chased her too, and I convinced her to marry me. And if you know my wife, who has a phenomenal background, you'll see that I was very persistent. This is a bowl made out of wheat straw. So we have a lot of resources in this country, and a lot of resources in Oregon. We're resource rich. And there's things that we can do in order to help the farmers and all the people in business be able to convert to new products. I have a desk that my sons do their homework on every night that's made out of wheat straw. So these are the kind of things, innovation, that we can do. You know, everybody talks about being green. Well, I was green. Now, you can't get any greener than wheat straw, all right? You can't get any greener than that. And I did that way back when they said it couldn't be done. And I was able to accomplish it. I think I wanted to have take a little turn here and have a little maybe question and answer or a little quiz that I want to call it Know Your Congressman. So Kurt Schrader has been in Oregon politics, you know, for a long time, and now he's been our representative now for 2 election cycles. But what do you know about him? Because I ask people all the time, what do you know about Kurt Schrader? So let me ask the first question. Where's his hometown? Who knows where his hometown is?
Canby.
Where?
Canby?
He was, where was this? Let me rephrase that. Where was he born at? He was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Okay. What was his first degree? He has 3 degrees. What was his first degree? And when he's a young man, you know, when you start off in school, you want to say, well, this is what I want to be when I get done with school. So what was his first degree in?
Well, he's a veterinarian, but his first degree is probably something like political science. Right?
Very good. It was political science. So he started off wanting to be a politician, and then he certainly is a politician. Okay. How many times did he fail to pay his property tax? From 1993 to 2008. How many times did he fail to pay that? He was, I should say he was late paying it. You know, he ended up paying it, but he was late paying it. Do you know how many times? 17 times. 17 times. And one time, he loaned 2 weeks before he paid his taxes, he loaned his campaign $100,000. It's not like he doesn't have money. He's one of the richest men in Congress. What's his ranking in Congress as being one of the wealthiest? Anybody know that? 77. So there's a lot of things that people don't know about him. But he's a very, very good politician. A very good politician. And one of the issues that I'm seeing, you know, running for office is that we don't do a really good job vetting who these people are. And that's why when I wrote this brochure, I put a lot of stuff behind me that what I have done. From military service to assistant Boy Scout leader, 4th degree Knight of Columbus, grew up on a dairy, liked the pheasant hunt, groundbreaking. If you notice this groundbreaking picture here, this is in Monticello, Georgia. The second young man on the right there is a black man, and I put him in charge of this multi-million-dollar facility in the heart of the South, where you know how they treated blacks for a long time. Encouraged him, he got his 4-year degree. It was one of the most successful on return on investment that Georgia Pacific had out of 500 facilities. Fine young man. The EPA said I couldn't build this facility. They said you can't get a permit, a minor source permit, but I proved to the federal EPA that it can be done. And how did I do that? I hired engineers from Oregon State, from Eugene, Oregon, called Evergreen Engineering, and told them to come out there and build this facility. And we did. And they didn't know it couldn't be done. So we just, when people say it can't be done, I say well, it can be done. One of the things that I want to do, and I have 7 things listed here, but this is really where I'm at, okay? And I've asked this question everywhere I have been. Why does the federal government own 60% of Oregon timberland? Why? And then there's a bunch of western states that they own. I think in Nevada they own 90+%. Why is that? Well, originally we were a territory, not a state. And so, you know, they owned everything then, and then we became a state. But I feel today that that's one of the economic engines for the state. We should own that. We have these fabulous universities of wonderful young men and women going through the forestry school that know more about the forestry, the economics of it, clean air, clean water, and a really safe habitat. And now we should own that. And that should be owned by the counties. By the counties, not the state, by the counties. Because what I'm seeing here is that counties actually can do a better job running things from a local area than they can from the state. So let's have the counties run that, so you have local control and people there that when they have an issue, then they can deal with their local representatives. So that's where I'm coming from, and that's one of the things that I want to do. I promise you I will do this. I promise you I will get that back into the hands and the ownership of Oregonians. Because I believe when I go with my military background, my business background, I'll have immediate camaraderie with a lot of people out in the West and people that John Garamendi, him and I went to the same high school. He's a Democrat representative out of California, and I know his family very well, played football with his brother, know his sister very well. So those are the kind of people that, because I don't care what party you belong to, I don't care what color your skin, I don't care what your religion is, all I care about is you're an American. And we got some serious, serious problems in this state, in this country. We all know that. One of the other things, I got some information from the Manufacturers Association about Kurt Schrader's record, because he talks about wanting manufacturing. Does he truly want manufacturing? Does he truly understand about manufacturing? Now, he's a small business guy. I don't know if he knows anything about mid-sized companies or large corporations. I've worked in large corporations and mid-sized companies and small companies. So I started off at Georgia Pacific as a millwright, and I ended up in the top 200 of a corporation of 65,000. I got the Chairman's Award. I was a top employee out of 65,000. And so not that I wanted the award, I just was trying to do my job, and people recognized that. So I was able to move up to the 51st floor of the corporate boardroom and see what it's like there and what their needs are. One of the big needs in large manufacturing companies is energy. Basically, this is how it breaks down in a large corporation. You've got 1/3 of your costs is in raw material, 1/3 of your costs is in energy, and 1/3 of your costs is in employees. So Kurt Schrader has voted no on all the energy bills except if it's focused in on solar or wind. And I'm used to, excuse me, we used to get our water pumped by wind all the time, in a windmill. But the wind only blows about 30% of the time. And my dad used to say when we needed water, all right, boys, tie a rope on the end of that blade, and one of you get up there and swing it, and the other pull it down. So it was boy power, all right? You get the water for us and our neighbors. So, and then the solar business, I helped establish the 7th largest woman-owned business in the United States, in Athens, Georgia. And I was on the board of directors there. And we had solar hot water heaters. We had them for years. We even had them in the extreme makeover, promoting it. People would not buy it because it added about $8,000 on the cost of a home. Now, people are putting them on now, but the federal government's paying for it. But when you have to put out your own money, you're not going to buy it because you don't want the additional cost. So, we saw that in a free market system that people are not going to willing to buy that. So, I think that what we need to do is we need to have somebody in Congress who really understands what's happening here on Main Street America. And folks, that's where I'm at. I'm just like you. I am just like you. I talked to a man the other day who's a business owner, and he's in Molalla. And I asked him, I said, what's the problem that you see in your business and business in general in Oregon? He said, there's too much uncertainty. And I said, okay, explain that to me. He said, well, Fred, you worked in the corporate world. He says, I worked in the corporate world. He says, you know what it's like. He says, you want to build something. So you're a controller. So you put down what all the costs are going to be. He says, let me ask you this question. What is the cost, what is the number that you put down for your health care? What expense is that going to be? I don't know. What are you going to put down for your taxes for the next 10 years? You have a 10-year depreciation. You've got to have an 18% hurdle rate in order to invest $200 or $300 million on a particular project. What are you going to put down for your number for your taxes? I don't know. We don't know that, do we? We know they're going to go up, but what are they going to go up to? We don't know that. He said, what are you going to put down for the number for environmental compliance? Don't know that either. He said, so are you gonna risk your job putting together a performance to take it in front of the board of directors and you don't have these numbers that you can rely on? You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna expand your business. He says, I don't care what the interest rate is. He said, it could be a half a point. I don't care what that is because I don't know what my costs are gonna be. I don't know what the government's going to do. He says, right here in Malala, he says, I have 49 employees. I want to expand. He says, but if I hit 50 employees, I fall under a bunch of different regulations. He says, I want to build a new building here. I want to expand the building. But it's an investment. If I leave, who's going to buy that? What other company's going to buy that? Because Oregon is very unfriendly to business. 66 and 67 is a very good example of that. He says, so I have a facility in Canada, so I'm going to go ahead and expand there. But my home is Oregon. I want to hire 15 more people, take care of 15 more families, help the community. But I'm not going to do it. That's the problem. Now, where are you hearing anybody? There's a few people. There's a few people in this room that understand this, a political leader. But where are you hearing that out of Congress? Where are you hearing that? You know, Greg Walden and DeFazio and Schrader are working on this ONC, this, you know, to try to get a little bit of timber out there. I don't want to ask the federal government for permission. Oh, we're going to have that conversation. I said, it might be a good start. I said, but my focus is getting the federal government out there and that Oregonians on it. That's the conversation that I want to have, and I will have that. I've said this, and I swear on my kids, my wife, my life. If I ever met the President of the United States, and I don't care who he is or who she is, Mr. President, get your federal government out of Oregon timberland. That belongs to the people of Oregon. And if the only thing that I can accomplish is that, then I've done a good job for the people of Oregon. So with that, I'll shut up and answer any questions that you may have. Yes?
On your little quiz about Kurt Schrader, could you tell us some of those votes that he's taken? It seems to me, from my layperson perspective, reading in the paper, he basically falls in line with the Democrats all the way through. I know he voted for Obamacare.
I've had a lot of conversations with Scott Brune, who's a real good friend of mine. I admire Scott. I really do. If I got elected, I said, Scott, we could tag team this thing, I really, because, I'm not going to spend more than 10 years in this. And I said, you'd be a great one to transfer it over. And I said, I'm the middle son of 3 boys, and I said, I like a good fight once in a while, so the next 10 years, I think I'm going to just fight for this. But at some point, I like to see everybody, get down on unemployment. About 3% people complain about working overtime. I know my job's done, right? I know families are taken care of. He's voted for cap and trade. He's voted for the health care. Now, here's a guy that 17 times is late paying his taxes, and yet the health care, as we all know, is the biggest tax increase in the history of the world. That's what it's come down to. He's voted against the Keystone Pipeline. Now, there's an energy thing. We talk about people need cheap energy. When he got elected, gas was about $1.83 a gallon, and now it's double that price, in 4 years. And we all know that energy is in everything that we touch. Food, everything comes to us based on some sort of truck. I'm getting a bunch of yard signs today, and that's coming on a UPS truck. So the cost, is included in all that. So he's voted against anything that I would consider that would really be beneficial. And I have a long list of things that he's voted no on. But a lot of, and in the Manufacturing Association, he votes against them 60% of the time. And he only votes for the green energy things, is what he's attached to. That's not helping our economy at all. It's not. And I'll tell you, no chainsaw ever killed a spotted owl. Those windmills are killing an average of 2 birds every year, and last year over 80,000 birds are being killed by those windmills. Now, where's the outcry from the people about killing these birds? I'd like to see him get, I want him to be voted out of office, and maybe he could open up a veterinarian clinic over there in Dallas and resuscitate birds. Might be a good thing. Yes?
Are you debating Kurt Schrader?
We're trying to. The city club has got something lined up, and I'd like to, personally, this is what I'd like to do. Personally, I'd like to go to every town in the 5th Congressional District on a Saturday for 2 or 3 hours, get everybody dressed up like you're going to Sunday best, bring the kids. Let's have an old-fashioned debate. Let's let the families and the children know what their elected officials and what the political world is all about. So let's do it that way. That would be what I'd like to have. I don't think I'm going to get that.
What's the date? Maybe we could.
The 7th of September, I believe.
Okay, so we could come to the city club and help support you.
That's fine. By the way, last week you just got notice from a research firm that specializes on Democrats and progressives investigating my wife. My wife is Assistant Attorney General of the state of Oregon, and they came to my wife with this request, and they said, Stephanie, who did you make mad? And she says, I don't think I made anybody mad. And so she looked at it, and she says, well, she says, I have a right to know. So I don't know how it applies to Fred's campaign, because I don't go with Fred. And by my request, I don't want my wife or my kids, and even my campaign manager, Jackie Lang, you don't know where these nuts are at, and if somebody pulls out a gun, I don't want people that, they're gonna shoot, but I worry about that kind of stuff, because I've had one incident like that. Not that they pulled out a gun, but, somebody got a little crazy. People do that. But she says, they have a right to know. I'm a public employee. I have a right to know, but I don't see how it applies to his campaign, because I'm not involved in that. But anyway, that's just part of the process. Yes.
Fred, good morning. Do you know about a program at Wellspring in Woodburn scheduled for September the 22nd? Have you heard
I don't remember right now. Jackie probably has that.
Well,
my campaign.
I saw an email Jan forwarded last night, and Ken Hector said that you haven't acknowledged back, but be aware of that. I'll give you the information on it here.
Oh yeah, I got home real late last night, so I didn't go look at the emails. I was gone all day yesterday from early in the morning, so I didn't check my email.
I should say that she sent it in the morning.
Oh. Okay. That's fine.
But
Yes.
it's like 11, 12 o'clock.
The campaign's gotta cost a lot of money. Where's Schrader's money coming from, and where's Fred's money coming from?
Well, that's a great question, because Kurt's, this is one of these, Kurt gets a lot of PAC money. Do you know what 2 states give him the largest amount of PAC money? Yeah. Well, two areas of the country. They give him 96% of his PAC money. Washington, D.C. and the state of Massachusetts. Gives him 96% of his money. So he has, I think, 1.1 million. I got right now about 10,000. So we're changing that. I've met with other people, and so we're gonna have a few more dollars. I don't know how many, but and I know money drives it. Everybody asks all the time, how much money do you have? And I said, do you buy this? How much do you got to write a check for this office? It is a tough nut to crack sometimes, but this is my issue. And my issue is last time Scott Rohn ran, and Scott Rohn was picked by the party, and he was supported by the party, and that was the best candidate they believed at that time they could put out. And they put a lot of money. I think he was almost matched Kurt Schrader dollar for dollar, and then he lost by 5 points. And I'm not, they don't perceive me as being, Scott Brun, which I'm not. So that's, that they have a certain model they look at, and if you fit in all those, holes, and, then you get selected. And I understand that. I have a problem with that. Whatever they want to do is fine. Whatever I'm going to do is fine too. But you're going to see my campaign crank up here. We've got a strategy. We've had a strategy for a long time. We'll see what happens. Well, November 6th tells us.
Any money
that.
gonna come from the national?
I don't get any money from them. I've never, to be honest with you, I've never even received a phone call from anybody congratulating me on the primary. Not one. So, and I have called in a couple days, because my parents always raised me to be polite, said, by the way, I won, if you guys didn't see it. And, but I've never, and I talked to a nice young man in the orange, and what was the congressional committee. I talked to a nice man, and a nice young guy, but he was just a pervert. So that's okay, that they'll be calling after November 6th on Wednesday. They'll be all of them be calling.
But part of the point is, I'm sure most of us get calls from them and say, well, it's great, but I prefer to give it to my candidate of my choice instead of to you guys. And of course, that doesn't sit well with them, but I guess kind of a free country once in a while.
Yeah, and I haven't tapped my resources, and but we're tapping. So we'll see. We'll be competitive. Believe me. Yes.
I heard about the finances for the primary. Could you relate a little bit of that?
Finances for the primary?
You
Well, I got almost 70% of the vote, if you round it up, and I spent less than $1,000. But to be honest with you, I've never stopped running. I slowed it down when Scott won and supported him when I was asked to, and talked to him when I wasn't asked to either. But I really never stopped running. I've been on the radio all this time. I've been talking to people. So interesting thing though, and I'm a real, because I used to be an engineer, so I'm a real data nut. When I ran first time with Scott, everybody said, Fred Thompson, are you the Senator Fred Thompson from Tennessee or the president? I have not got one question like that. So it tells me that people know who I am. Now the interesting thing when I look at the numbers, now Karen Bowerman is a nice lady, I like Karen. Now she was the Fred Thompson this time as I was last time. She was an unknown, and she went everywhere, and she spent some money, and she, did some advertising, and did basically the same thing I did. And when I ran against Scott, I got 37% of the vote in the primary. He got 63. When we had this primary, she got 32% of the vote, and I got 67% of the vote. So I got a 5-point spread, 5 points more. And I did that, that was by design. I wanted to see if the people would, without spending a lot of money, without doing advertisement, if the people would remember, and because I've been doing this for a couple of years. And it went up 5 points. So I said to myself, and part of that's just, when they read whatever, but it's a data point. And it just says that I've done better. The numbers, the trend's going the right way. So what I need now is, I need 90% of the Republican votes, 10% of the Democrat votes, and 40% of the independent votes. But let me tell you something. I have a lot of Democrats that are supporting me. I've got an underground teacher group that is supporting me. That I've met with them. I won't identify who they are because they're not happy with the union and they're not happy with the administration. And so they're supporting me. One of the things I want to do, and my 6th bullet point here, is improve Oregon's suffering education system, including reinstatement trade school education. I want mid-high and high school shop classes back. We're losing 1 out of 3 kids. 75% of the people in prison don't have a high school diploma. So that, we need to make sure that these young people have an opportunity. And if you notice, I'm a journeyman in 3 different areas. I'm an education nut. I didn't get my master's till I was 51. And I was a millwright, a journeyman millwright, I hold one of the highest electrical license, state of Oregon, supervisor's license, certified welder. I understand what trades are all about. I can fix anything in my house, which I like quite a bit. And I got my undergraduate from Linfield, and I got a presidential key executive MBA from Pepperdine. You got to look that up, because that's just not an MBA that normally you have. This is the only one like it in the world. They're ranked #1 in the world in ethics. That's a very unique club that you're in. And people coming from around the world for that class, we met every three weeks. When I was there, it took 22 months, now it takes 15 months, and you have to do an overseas project. And it costs a lot of money. And, but I paid every nickel myself. So that's my background. Any other questions? Because I can go on.
Fred,
Yeah.
we need your vote in Congress. And what can we do here? What do you think would be the most effective thing that this organization can do to ensure that you get elected?
Well,
Besides the money.
well, you know, and obviously it's the money, but it's also handing these out, you know. I get these printed for, by the way, full color, everything, great paper, all that, 6.5 cents each. I'm working on getting them a little cheaper, because I can squeeze the Indian off of the nickel. And so, and they make money. I don't run my business, they make money too. But what we do is we fold these things, we fold these things like this, and we put them in the door. And I'll tell you what, this has been the most effective flyer. I get so many compliments on this, because they can read as little or as much as they want, but they get the full picture of who I am. And, you know, most candidates say you can create jobs. Everybody knows create jobs, how do you do that? I do want to talk a little bit about that, creating jobs. One of the things I want to do, I'd like to build 2 high-tech manufacturing facilities in every county in the 5th Congressional District. That would be 10 of them. That would employ over 3,000 people. That would include about 8,000 construction jobs. I've done that. I've done this my whole life. I built these manufacturing plants. I computerized the first wood products mill in the United States in Eugene, Oregon. It's owned by Mercury Company, and Alan Bradley, owned by Rockwell International, flew out of here from Wisconsin and videotaped me doing that, and that was in the early 80s. So that was a very unique thing that we had done, and we did it right here in Oregon. Oregon people can do whatever we want to do. I also want to build and an Oregonian pointed this out with my veteran experience. They know what the needs are going to be for veterans in the future. I've talked to a number of doctors. The good thing that we have with all this armor is that it's saving lives. The bad thing is that they're very tore up. They said the body armor protects, you know, the main trunk, but the blast goes on their face, rips their arms and legs off. And I can guarantee you folks, in 20 or 30 years from now, these veterans come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, there won't be the love and the hype that they have around today. Yeah, that will all fade out. That will fade out. But these veterans are going to live with these scars the rest of their life. We got to have a veterans home here in the 5th Congressional District. We don't need to send these families over to Dallas or Roseburg or someplace else that have to drive for a day to see their loved ones. And their grandchildren and children. We're rich enough. This country's rich enough. We got enough. These mountains here, we're only taking less than 10% of the timber. These mountains are not going to grow corn. They're going to grow trees. So let's embrace it and do it right, because we utilize everything out of the tree with the shade. So let's fund that so we can take care of these veterans. The other thing is trade school education. We've got to get these kids back into these shop classes. My first one was a metal shop, and if you remember, you had a little ball peen hammer, and what did you make? You made an ashtray. Well, that's politically incorrect today. So we'll make candy dishes. But we need to do that. Get these kids an opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
There are a lot of people who would come to Oregon with their skills if they had the jobs available to them. But my husband was a machinist, and the job that he could get was working on the big, huge things, and he's used to working on projects for like NASA.
Right.
So, you know, there are a lot of people like that who have the ability to do a job, and there are no jobs available for them.
There isn't any jobs, and we need to change that, but we need the right structure. As I told you earlier, we need certainty. People need to know what's going to go on with their taxes, healthcare, environmental regulations, so they know what they're up against. So when they borrow money, they know that they can pay it back. You know, I talked to a real estate gentleman the other day in Hubbard, and he said, you know, young people should be buying houses, you know, the interest rate is so cheap. And I said, you're right about that, but where are they going to work for 30 years to pay for it? They got to have a job that's going to last 30 years to pay for that mortgage. Where are they going to get that? They're not. Where are these young people gonna go to work? Texas, North Dakota? You're gonna lose your grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Well, these kids coming out of college now, $100,000, $200,000 debt, where are they gonna go to work? Where are they gonna go to work? And do you know in Marion County, we spend $10 million a month on food stamps? $10 million a month in Marion County.
And a lot of it on illegal immigrants.
So anyway, I need to get off this. I better get hooked up.
He seemed to be on a roll. I hated to slow him down, but I did specifically ask our national committee man